Hey, Stefan, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I've been following you for a long time
Okay.
and I love your content. I love your presence on LinkedIn, and you've got a very unique presence with a lot of the things that you share. So I thought it'd be cool to get you on here and talk a little bit about your story.
Yeah, thank you. LinkedIn has been awesome so far, and it's cool to share your own story and be transparent with the community on there. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to that transparency and also building your personal brand
Yeah.
when it comes to setting yourself apart. Of course, customer service and what you provide, but really being able to connect with the people in the industry and in the community as well.
Absolutely. The I've gotten flack before because you will post things on LinkedIn and it's somewhat controversial, but having a small business and trying to grow it yourself, I don't have all the money to market and everything, so you have to take matters into your own hands a lot and self-promote
Hmm.
yourself, to grow, and that it's very efficient because you don't have the marketing spend and you promote it all yourself, so it's been very efficient that way, and I'm able to grow, and I've gotten tons of customers from LinkedIn and
Hmm.
from sharing my story, and
Right.
so it's been awesome.
Yeah, and I agree. I've had a similar experience with it. When I first got on, I was surprised because when I came to the West Texas Oilfield 10 years ago, there wasn't a LinkedIn
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so when I discovered that a couple of years ago, I found it so fascinating and I saw the efficiency right away.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
it's like you still have to figure out who you are and what you want to post and how you want
Yeah,
to engage and interact. But I think the more that you make it your own and you take those risks and you are transparent and
yeah,
you just kind of putting it all out there, showing who you are,
yeah,
that builds your business because it's more about the personal relationship.
absolutely. Yeah, no, telling your own story too, that's huge. That was so huge for me to whenever we see the companies just post like generic,
Yeah.
buy from me on there, it doesn't really hit. But whenever you get to tell your own story about something that's happened in your life and that thing kind of resonates with people
Hmm.
and then you can connect with them on a personal level because they'll see who you are and then you can reach out to them and then you already share like a common interest with each other
Hmm.
because of that first connection of where you guys have talked to each other.
Yeah.
And so I've made tons of friends, like not even customers, just tons of friends because they would reach out for something I said and I would go meet them for breakfast and then off we go into a friendship. And it was already like we were like-minded, individuals because they wouldn't have reached out if they didn't resonate with something that I've said.
Right.
So that's been really cool to
Yeah.
to see. And I know that, like, in social media, there can be, there's a other side of that coin, I think, and that's, you get the hate or
Yeah.
you get the negative things that come with, even the internet and the social media, but I think that is a super positive aspect is that you get to reach like-minded business and like-minded individuals a lot quicker than, going door to door to
Yeah.
door and
Absolutely.
pounding the pavement constantly, and
Mhm.
so it gives you that median of exchange.
It really does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Y
super good.
that's exciting because that's exactly how I saw it too.
Mhm,
Like, you put yourself out there, you build this profile and this presence, and other people can see it. They
mhm.
can whether you've got your experience or what you've got going on,
Yeah,
your services. So somebody can already get to know you a little bit. And so that warms up the relationship. It's not a cold
yeah,
call. You're
yeah,
not just
yeah,
showing up in someone's office and then trying to explain who you are and while you're there. And I mean, it's a very outdated way of doing business.
yeah,
And I mean, there's still value in calling someone, but when you have a LinkedIn, especially in the oil and gas industry, in the West Texas oil field, you can already introduce yourself before you make that
yeah,
phone call.
yeah, mhm,
And a lot of us are getting more comfortable with the way we communicate and conduct business. And like you said, when you find those like-minded individuals, they're already wanting to work with you
yeah,
because they're seeing
yeah,
your story, you're talking about different things you've done, how you've gotten here, the struggles you've gone through
yeah,
as a business
absolutely,
owner.
yeah,
I mean, that is definitely something where you can really build that bond.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the struggles of, the business, I love that talk, and what's crazy is you go meet other business owners and you're not alone in your
Yeah.
business struggles, and, that's really neat to see too, and I'll go talk to other small service companies, and we'll have the same exact scenarios. This we had to do this, we had to do this because all these, scenarios are
Mhm.
happening. But yeah.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I found that too because there's so many peaks and valleys to what we
Mhm.
do out here, and, there's a lot of competition.
Mhm.
It can be very cutthroat. So when you find your people, when you find, fellow business owners that you can build those relationships with, mentors, learn different things that are going on, and then you have vendors and business alliances that you know that you can count on, it takes a lot of that negativity out
Yeah.
because you're already right there where you need to be. And so you can just focus on your customers and building your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so mentors, you spoke mentors, and that instantly made me think about how, like, when you start having mentors and talking to the other business owners, it helps you. And if you listen to them, it'll help you identify problems in the future, present, and then you're able to repair them or fix them, and do the right thing whenever you guys all communicate with each other and
Yeah.
talk to each other.
I really appreciate that too. And I mean, even with just like the culture of influencers and social media,
Yeah.
like being able to follow people and learn things, and you can follow different topics, and you can learn a lot about your business and who you want to be in your career
Yeah.
just by who you follow.
Yeah.
And so it's important to consume the right content that's relevant to you, but that's also going to help you grow.
Yep.
And so
Absolutely.
I love the value in it, and it
Yeah.
just feel like we can control a lot of the narrative, and we choose what we wanna share.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That was choosing what we want to share. We just had that story of sharing my first videos, looking into the camera and trying to self promote on LinkedIn, and how I posted it, even though it was the most cringeworthy, video that I've ever seen, staring into a camera, like, uh, uh, and what's crazy is that I think it's still, if I went and look back, it got like 3,000 views, and I would watch it, just cringe, going, "Oh, this is awful," but it was real, and it was original, and it was me, and so, and then it still garnered business, so I thought, like, "Oh, something's going on here, something's
Right.
working here," and so
Mhm.
I still try to improve on that, but, uh, yeah, that's the,
Yeah, it's important because as you grow and you share
Mhm.
your content and you recognize that there's value in it, it kinda gives you that creative freedom
Mhm.
to do even
Yeah,
better and
yeah,
to keep
yeah,
experimenting. I enjoyed that a lot, and, like I said, I've followed your content for a long time, and, I've seen your business grow, I've
yeah,
seen the following grow, but, you were telling me before about how you got into the oil and gas
yeah,
industry, and you really paved your own way.
sure, life story. That's a good one. It's funny when you look back and how I got to where I am now. It all starts from, I feel like it all starts from childhood, like how there's this big story, and I grew up, my parents were divorced. I grew up, from about 4 to 10, I grew up, pretty in poverty, pretty poor, like, my favorite movie was, like, 8 Mile because I lived in a trailer park, and it was rats, and my parents were divorced, and they weren't doing very well at all, and, but those things, living there taught me how to, like, defend myself and fight because you were in a bad situation all the time, and then I moved in here. My dad moved to Midland, and, he came and worked for Dorn Aviation, and, so my mom stayed in Houston, that's where she lived, and pretty crazy is that, my first taste was that I would, wanna go see my mom, and my dad worked at Dorn Aviation, so he took care of all these, Oleg X airplanes all the time, and, he would, ask them to let me take free flights with them to Houston to go to, like, the oil show or do a business, because Houston's a huge oil hub, and I remember the thinking, I would go with these guys, and I'm in a plane with, a billionaire guy in this private jet, and, thinking how I was in poverty, like, with nothing before, so that was super, like, 2 sides of the coin,
Mhm.
like, I walked, like, when I even the culture shock of moving to Midland, I went to Fannin, and I came from Houston, so I wore blue jean shorts, and like, a South Pole shirt, a button up, and then I walk into class, and everybody wears cargo shorts and, like, a
Okay.
polo,
Yeah.
and so I was, like, way out of,
Yeah.
way culture shock when I got here, but, What was really cool about those airplane rides, though, I liked always liked this story was that, it really put my perspective differently about the culture here, and I love the leadership in Midland of the oil companies because, the guy I don't remember this guy's name, but he knew we were coming, my sister and I knew we were coming, and we got on the plane, and he had got us Jumburrito, and he said to me, he goes, "I don't know what you guys liked, but here, I just got you all," he brought out this big platter Jumburrito just for us to eat breakfast, and I thought, "Wow, this guy doesn't know us, and what a kind, gesture that he's
Yeah.
making towards us, what
Right.
a kind gesture," and then on our plane ride, I would say, I'd ask him, well, it's cool 'cause my dad taught me, not just be afraid of these guys, and so they're just people too, and that's
Mm,
when my
that's
first
good.
thing was
Yeah.
that, like, these are just, people as well, and, so I asked him, I said, "How did you get to where you were?" And, he said, "I just put in, like, this much more effort than everybody else, and that's how I got here," and so that actually stuck with me since I was probably 12, 13 years old, and, it resonates now, like, you just keep going, and you don't give up, and,
Mhm.
anyway, so I graduated from Middle High, and then, I, my dad paid for my first semester at Millen College, and he says, "As long as I pass, that, you will, I'll keep paying for it, but if you fail, I'm not paying for college no more." Fair enough, I, failed every class but, college algebra because I liked math, and
Okay.
so that's the only thing I cared about,
Mhm.
and, so he said, "I'm not paying for it anymore," so told myself, "Well, I will, uh I will, pay for it myself," so you can Millen College wasn't that expensive, and so you could pay for a part-time job, and I could go to school still, so I paid for another 5 classes next semester and failed all 5 of them,
Mm.
and so I ended I ended my Midland College streak.
Yeah, it seemed like maybe that was the end of it.
No, 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 no. I did this for, like, 4 semesters.
Oh, okay,
I
kept
would pay
going.
for it again, go, and then I would just wouldn't show I would go for a few I would start class, go for a few weeks, and then I would
Just wasn't into it.
just wasn't into it.
That's
So I ended up with 16 Fs at Midland
wow.
16 Fs.
I've never even heard of that
Yeah,
many.
and my GPA at Midland College was .54. I still remember that,
Wow.
.54. And, yeah, I did I started so I finally gave up on that dream, and I started selling cars. I had a good friend growing up, and I started selling the cars at Mazda Midland, and, I was never afraid of talking to people, and so I got the reps and sales, and that kinda, like today, that's where it helps is because, I talk to people every day, all day, was just talking to people and selling, and so that went well, and then I had my first child, and I thought that I needed to really I was eating too much, I was playing too many video games still, and I really needed to take my life a little bit more serious, and so I that's kinda like what I would say changed it for me, and I was probably 22, and went back to school, uh, started passing all my classes at Millen College. I got accepted, I wanted to be an engineer, and so I did get accepted at UTPB, and my GPA, I had to get over a 2.0. So I got a 2.0, and then they accepted UTBB. And this was right at COVID. I was taking calculus. This is my timeline's getting all messed up now. But uh after the let me go back here because I'm totally messing up my timeline here. I started going to school and passing, but then I left the car business. I went to Parsley Energy as a pumper, and I started pumping there. And I pumped there for 5 years, which I loved, partially, Sheffield and Gallagher, they were awesome leaderships there, and at the end, I moved to compressor operator, and I operated your gas lift compressors, and, throughout the time I was there whenever they first just had 1 little field office, and over the 5 years, there was, like, 500 employees, and now they're building all these things. They were moving to Austin, it was blowing up. And they gave us these I loved it, and, that's why I love the leadership in Midlands because they give us these bonuses, the stocks and your cash bonuses, and I would save them. And I've always wanted to own my own business, like, this has been the dream of mine since I was, a kid, and so, uh I didn't know what to I didn't know what to do. I just know I was saving them, and at that point, I was getting myself together, I guess you would say,
Mhm.
like, over the years, and, I have a good friend, Alan Peters. He owns a small operating company, and he's been a business mentor of mine, and I went to him I went to him, and I said, "I wanna, make a business," and I wanted to make a gaming bar, and, so I went made this whole elaborate business plan. I mean, it's, like, to the T on how I'm gonna make this gaming bar in Midland. I went to Georgia, I went to another place that did this exact thing, talked to their managers. I did the whole thing, and, I came back to him. I came back to some other mentors of mine, and I said, "I wanna make this gaming bar, this is how I do it. I have this money, right? Let's do this." And, they all looked at me like, I was crazy for wanting a gaming bar in Midland, and in hindsight, now when I look back, they were probably right. It wasn't not that it wouldn't work. I don't believe that, but I now have 4 kids and a huge family, and I support, all of them, and, I don't know if that would have been the
Right.
right move to make for me. And so I went back to what I'm good at, and, growing up, my dad taught me mechanical skills. I was rebuilding my dirt bike engines and racing dirt bikes, growing up, and, when I came here to Midland, and I was really good at it. My dad's a master at it, and so he taught me, he's really good at it, and so and then I had my sales experience from Mazda,
Mhm.
talking to these guys, and so, during when I was working for Parsley, I was trying to figure that out of where I wanted to do, and it just came to me where the market was saying that, "Hey, we don't have enough equipment here, enough heavy equipment," and so I made another business plan, whole elaborate to the T. To the toilet paper.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
counted the toilet paper, man. How much was that gonna cost? How I was gonna do it because, my wife at the time, I will say, is like, I'm gonna like, Parsley was very it's these EMP companies, they set you up, man. They're nice and generous, and it's not a bad deal at all, to work for
Mhm.
them. They make a great living and great security. You have all the benefits, and, my wife was like, "I'm gonna divorce you if you do this, if you take all this money and jump." And, I can tell that story. She might not like it, but I can tell it. And so at the time, but I'm like, "No, I gotta do it." Look, I have a plan though. Like, I know I am taking the jump,
Mhm.
I'm gonna take the jump, okay? But I did make a plan that I'd planned out for, like, 2 years before this happened, like,
Mhm.
turnkey plan to the T. I'm doing everything, you know? And I was like, I was confident in myself as well. There was another thing. I was like, "I'm doing this." So, I still made the leap. She didn't divorce me, she was on edge. It was and by the way, it turns out now it's cool in hindsight when you look back.
Right,
When you
right.
look back of
But
making
at the
that
time,
I
it's
the
very
it's
nerve-wracking.
very nerve-wracking, and I can understand where she was coming from too. It wasn't
Sure.
yeah, yeah, it's not like, and so I, made that jump. It was $120,000. I had the customers lined up as when I left. I had the customer like, "I'm gonna do this right." I had the customers lined up. I found some customers, and I started renting the week after I left. I put in my 2 weeks, and I left on a great note. I love those guys over there. I still have a ton of friends, from Parsley, and and I was off, and, I was working a lot, at first. The first few years, it was a lot of work, um, and it just started growing, and I don't I guess the rest is I just started marketing that marketing on LinkedIn, then the
Mhm.
LinkedIn thing came well, I was starting the LinkedIn while I was at Parsley already, like, starting to just try that marketing out, and so that actually then started garnering business from that was really the efficiency. Let me go back. That was really the efficiency of LinkedIn was that I was so busy trying to support my family with this money, making this new business. I couldn't afford a salesperson, right? And so, how was I gonna save time by walking into people's office uh, and get drum up more business, and then the business would just start coming to me, and that was the way that it happened.
Oh, yeah.
And so then I started getting forklifts. I had my mentor, he invested in some of the equipment, and which it's cool. I bought them out now, so I own it, like, all the way. And so I just got more equipment, and then COVID came. So, yeah, so the
Okay,
school
so
or the
then COVID.
timeline, like,
Okay,
let's
now
get
we're
back
back to
to
the
the
timeline.
gosh, this is
Alright,
hard
I'm
to put
with
all
you.
together.
No,
Okay, so the
I'm
time
getting it. It makes sense.
yeah.
COVID.
So, before COVID, had still been going to school, like, I couldn't do, like, 5 classes a so I'd just been going to school for years, like, I would just take 2 classes a semester, right? So,
Right.
like, for years, I was building my GPA, and it was cool because like, if you have an F and you were to make a B, like, it overrides your F
Okay, great. Yeah,
in the
that's
same
awesome.
class, in the
Okay.
same class. So, yeah, so then, I'm retaking all the classes I failed,
That's good. Right on.
and, COVID came, and, like, I, okay, so before this, my wife, was a RN, and then she wanted to go be a nurse practitioner, and so she wasn't she was super happy that I had, went out on my own because she took off she stopped working, and then she went right back to nurse practitioner school, and that takes about 3 years, so I supported her and paid for her nurse practitioners, to get her nurse practitioner degree. And, COVID came. There's 2 stories here. Is COVID came, and I was in calculus. I'm like, "I'm gonna be an engineer," like, "I'm gonna be an engineer." And then COVID came, and I'm not kidding you, 1 month, half of my equipment came off rental, and it was just
Oh,
it
wow.
was all
Yeah.
coming back to the yard.
Mhm.
And,
Scary.
so, yeah, I was, like,
Mm,
that close.
yeah.
I was like, "I'm done." "Dang it." I've been trying so hard,
Wow, yeah.
and so so what happened during that time, right as COVID came, my wife was graduating, like, in a 3 months span. I was losing my work, my wife was graduating, so for a few months there, I stopped taking pay and just and my wife was supporting us for about 3 months in there, and so it was a great teamwork, like, I had to support
Yeah.
her, and then she came
Right.
back, and she got it back, and then it started trickling back. Um, but also at that time is, like, I was working. I was like, "I don't want this to fail. I'm not gonna, like, not support my family." So I stopped going to I quit again. I
Mm,
stopped I was, like, in the middle of the semester. I was going at it, and then I was like, "I don't have the time anymore because it's work and sleep to
yeah.
trying to keep this ball rolling,"
Right.
you know? So it started to come back, it started to come back, and then, everything's easing out. My wife stays at home, and we didn't use that she only used that degree for about 2 years, and she went back to stay at home then because there's 4 kids,
Right.
and
That's a
there's
lot.
I mean, she's as busy as anybody, and so, anyways, that's, like, the kind of the story, and then we've grown and then, over the years, you grow, you start learning business, and, I think that's why the longer that you hang in there and the longer you do it, you start to learn. You're just learning.
Mhm.
You go to your mentors, this is what stage you're in, what season of business you're in, and, learn how to, learn your boundaries, that was another thing, like, learn who you're willing to do business with.
Mhm, yeah.
That was another lesson. I can talk forever about this, so tell
Yeah.
me if I'm just rambling.
No,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not because I mean, I understand that and because I've gone to school. I went to school, I got my associate's degree, didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Worked for a
Mhm.
while, went back and got my bachelor's. Even after I got it, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. In hindsight, I can look back and see where I was getting all my building blocks, a lot like what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
And so you do learn as you go. And the more experience that you get, especially with a business where
Mhm.
you will hang in there.
Yeah.
You will stick with it through those rough times, but that is something that is a really hard lesson to learn are the people who you want to do business
Mhm.
with and the ones that you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. Yeah, so after COVID happened, it starts growing, and then what happens is and not this is I think about this, and this is I've heard this from every industry, so I don't wanna I'm not saying specific oil and gas because you've heard in every industry people not paying their bills and
Mhm.
people doing these things, and, that was a big kicker that happened a few years ago for me was that, I was like, I didn't want to have that it stressed me out so much, of like, why aren't people paying their bills? And then you go
Right.
watch, not all of them. By the way, it's only a problem with like maybe 5% of customers. Like the most people here are great,
Mhm.
and I have great. But
Right.
at the
Yeah.
time, it would stress me out because it's a small business. You can't go that far.
Mhm.
I can't go that far out. And so I just made the decision that I was gonna cut out the people who we weren't having a mutual beneficial relationship. Like, I'm doing what I say I'm gonna do. Your equipment's there, it's on time, it's working. If it breaks, it does. It happens to us all. I'm there. I'm gonna make it right for you.
Mhm.
And it wasn't being made right in the same way. And then, I think what it is the people that were like didn't communicate, and then you see them on social media and they're going on
Yes.
elaborate vacations,
Yes.
and you're like, "Man,
Yeah.
you're 20,000, you're like 6 months out, and
Mhm.
you're like,
Yeah.
man, like,
No,
we're
I understand that.
come on, man, like,
Yeah.
what is that? What is that?" And so I thought I was gonna lose work, and I thought I was, like, gonna be done because I was like, "But I don't wanna, this is a boundary now, and I'm not going to, I don't wanna live like this
Right.
myself," right? And so I cut those people out, and, the total opposite thing happened. I just started, drawing in more healthy business relationships,
Mhm.
and so then that I was like, "Oh," the light bulb goes off,
You
and
know, and I could see that because, like, the fear of you're gonna lose the business, you're almost going to continue catering to the customers that are difficult because you kinda think everybody's gonna be like that, or if you lose them, you're gonna lose everyone,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
and you're right, especially out here in the Permian, like, there are so many great people doing good business out here,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
ones
absolutely.
that aren't, that will I mean, they'll cut their guys' time in half and go on vacation,
Mhm.
or they won't pay their bills, and you'll see them going on vacation, and it's an interesting I mean, the audacity of it, in my opinion, like,
Yeah.
I can't believe you'd even put that out there for people to see, but
Yeah, wild, huh?
it
Like,
is
it's
so
like
wild. There's
like
quite a bit of that. Like there's
yeah.
I would say like that's a part of our culture that a lot of us have experienced, whether I mean, mine was from when I was an employee. I would see the owners of the company not paying their bills, not paying their people,
Mhm.
no overtime, and then they're going on one extravagant
Yeah.
vacation
Yeah.
after another, and it can burn you out on the
Yeah.
industry when you feel like everyone is
Everyone's
like that.
when you feel like everyone's like that, yeah.
Mhm, and so then you get jaded, and then you're, like, watching your back, and
Mm.
you're losing sleep over it, but when you took that and that was a I mean, that was a bold stance to take, to say, "I'm not gonna work with these people anymore,"
Mhm.
but then you realize there's so many good people
Yeah, there's so
here.
many good ones, and
Yeah,
it's like, "Oh, yeah."
yeah,
You're like, "Wow, this
and
is
then you
amazing."
can grow again,
Mhm.
but you gotta get through that, then, that's another one of your building blocks, so
Yep,
now you can
yep.
look back in that
Mhm.
hindsight and say, you have that wisdom, and so you also have that confidence to continue making those
Decisions,
decisions.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very awkward having a conversation with a manager for a service company, and because that person's a human too, and I deal with them, and they're like, "Hey," they feel terrible that their ownership's not paying their bills too, and,
Yeah,
you're like, "I can't get in contact," like, I would rather talk to them and not you, you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Because this is weird for you to work there and,
yeah.
like, have to deal with this problem, and so, yeah, that's tough. Yeah,
That one is a tough one, and, something else that I've seen you post about quite a bit, and that is a problem out here in the Permian is,
mhm.
theft of
Yeah,
equipment.
theft, yeah, my theft stories.
Your
Yeah,
theft
my theft
stories are
stories, oh my
I
god.
mean, you can really get into your theft
Yeah,
stories and following along, and then,
yeah,
when the backhoe gets recovered,
yeah,
now what's happening,
yeah.
and so but you're really putting it out there with some transparency
Mhm,
and insight.
mhm. Yeah, uh, so in 6 years, probably 6 years, I've gotten, 5 pieces stolen, and, the first one and this is I got there's a few hard ones in here, but the first one, I knew my customer stole it. Like, I didn't know.
Oh.
I didn't know, like, I didn't see it, I just the way that the transaction was working out, I was like, "He stole it," I'm just thinking in my head, and so, I actually went to his house and saw him in his front yard and went and talked to him, like, got very aggressive with him, and, he said, I didn't steal it," so so I couldn't do anything there, and I, cut my losses, cut my losses there, and, about 8 months later, he slips up, and we find it in his little yard.
Oh.
Yeah, we find it, and, my colleague Kurt, he finds it, and so we go over there, and we call the sheriffs, and we have a 4 ounce, "Hey, this is my stolen equipment." Well, the guy wasn't at his house, and so the sheriff tells us that, I can't, I can't go on there and get your equipment. This is a business dispute. We can't get your equipment back." And I'm like, "That's not gonna work, man. Like, that's my piece of equipment, and he stole it from me, and I want it back," you
Mhm.
know? And some things happen. I can't but I eventually that day, I went up to his yard, and
You were able to get it
I was
back
able to
through
get it I was able to get it back through some connections, I got it back to my yard, and it was in terrible condition, which
course.
it's still like a total loss.
But it was the principle
Yeah, the
to
principal,
get it back,
yeah, as a principal,
especially
like, yeah,
when
it
it was
was,
found.
dude, that's all. I'm there. This is mine. And actually, we started parting it out because I was like, the only thing it's worth now is parts. So we
Mhm.
actually sold a bunch
Right,
of the
right.
parts off of it and trying to recover as much as we could. But the what was the second one? Oh, a backhoe. I had one backhoe. I guess they just wanted to use it for a day because they stole it and took the and look, they have GPSs, and I tried so hard to make sure that I can track it if it is get stolen, but people are smart too, man. It's
Right.
like
We know that
if
they have GPS now.
yeah, if you have a truck and a trailer, an 18 wheeler, that's like you have resources to be able to get this equipment
Yep.
in the first place. So
Mhm.
these people aren't like, like dumb. That per
Right.
se doesn't mean like they know
They
there's
didn't just they're not showing up on foot.
yeah, they're not some motherfucker taking this stuff. They're getting in,
Right.
$200,000 pieces
Mhm.
of equipment to come get it. Like they
Yeah.
have already have resources and
Right.
so, I people are like, "Yeah, how can you?" I'm like, "I have all the stuff. I track them very well and I try to hide them and, do all the little tricks to
Mhm.
make sure that they don't get stolen." So, it's just part of the I think it's for every business. I mean, theft like a convenience store, right? You have petty theft and
Mhm.
theft happens. So, they stole it, and then, like, 2 days later, we found it, like, in a field behind my yard, like, a mile away. We
Like,
did
they kind of brought it
Yeah,
back.
they kind of brought it back.
Oh my
But I would
god.
like to think it's funny, I would like to think when I report because whenever yeah, they, like, kinda brought it back, but so I would like to think, though, that whenever they get reported stolen, whenever I put it on LinkedIn and they get, like, people love
Oh, yeah, people will
and by the way,
share
I
that.
love LinkedIn for people sharing, I mean, that you guys
Absolutely.
all have my back, and I
Yeah,
love the LinkedIn community has
totally.
my back, dude, and I love
Absolutely.
that so much.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that, like, it got so many views that that person that stole it's, like, sweating,
Yeah,
like
it does, and then, like but they could only bring it so
yeah,
far.
they can't bring it back.
Not all
Yeah.
the way back,
Yeah,
but,
so
like, close enough where you could find it.
yeah.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they did catch wind of some of that.
Yeah, they're like, "This thing is super hot," like
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
look back in this field and we're like, "Is that our back up there? Is that it?" And so we literally go back in this field and, like, there it is, it's
Whoa.
sitting there. I'm like, "Oh, they brought it back. Okay,
Right
okay."
on.
And then the third one was the backhoe story that I put on LinkedIn is that, it was stolen 2 days later. The guy who stole it is on my, uh, colleague, he's driving home, and this my colleague is a minority partner now, but he has been with me for 5 to 6 years, and he's very like-minded, we, mesh well together, and, he, uh, he sees it. He sees the backhoe on a trailer, like, 2 days later, 10 minutes from our yard, and so, yeah, he stops. He tells the guy, he has a flat tire, and he needs to and then the guy's like, he's not gonna say anything," so he says, "No, you're gonna pull over," and so he pulls over, and we kinda learned our lesson the first time about, possession of who has the backhoe. So we did get the cops involved. We got them involved after we have removed the backhoe from his trailer and we put it on our trailer. And then we got the sheriffs involved. But I
Oh,
mean,
interesting,
hmm
okay.
yeah.
Was there, I mean, were you able to recover it from the trailer, like, with ease or with
Yeah, with
force?
force. So
A little
I'd
bit
say
of
it was force.
force?
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't for. I mean,
Like, physical
there's no
force.
physical altercation, and as soon as it happened, it was only away from the yard. So we actually got the truck. We got our my foreman. We got them all there, and I don't think I'm gonna say this. I don't think he knew that he wasn't gonna win this altercation
Okay, yeah.
if there was one.
So it was, I mean,
Yeah,
no-brainer, he's gonna
yeah,
hand
he's
it
gonna have it
over.
hand over, and then. whenever people steal things, he knows he's wrong. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you know, you're wrong, man. You're
Yeah.
wrong for this,
Mhm.
and nobody's lying. You're the and so we actually gave us his identification, and
Oh, he's just totally
yeah. Then after that, after
cooperative.
we kind of it was more of it was kind of a bully situation where we. You know, it was kind of we made forced it, and it wasn't. There was no. We weren't asking questions. It was a demands. You
Yeah.
know, and
But you kinda have to be like
mhm,
that
yeah,
because like you said, like, before, you had all those problems, like, you can't have it, it's on his property now, like,
yeah,
that doesn't even make any sense,
yeah,
but if that's the way it's done, well, like you said, you're confronting this person, they know they stole it,
yeah.
so, I mean, they know they're caught, so at that point, like, he didn't want any more problems.
Yeah, no more problem. Yeah, and so that you know that's the thing I did to get a little my pettiness at the end. I'll tell you my pettiness was that we took it off, and then the cops, you know, like you really can't press charges. You can take them to court. You know, you can try to like take him to court. But we had looked it up. He already had a criminal record for thievery, and
Mm,
he already had
yeah.
a list of felonies. And so what I did do is we knew all of his information, where he lived and everything, so I sent him an invoice. That was my pettiness at the end. I sent him an invoice for all the damages he did, and
Yeah.
then, you know, for his rentals for, backhoe, but I didn't have stuff and got the money. I'm still gonna
I
try though. I
Yeah,
tur
that was very clever. I wouldn't have ever expected that,
It
that you're
sounds like
gonna
yeah,
send the thief an invoice for the
yeah,
damages
it's
incurred and the
yeah,
time
and the time my
lost.
time lost,
Yeah,
yes. So I
absolutely.
didn't get paid, but I thought, you know,
You could take him to court for
yeah, so
that.
that's the thing is that like I've done that with people, you know, that's even a hard system because it takes, you know, 6 months to a year to even get a court date when you go to like small claims court. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
the court system
You
and
should
try
get
to
well, this is the thing. I mean, the fact that this guy was driving down the road with
yeah,
a stolen piece of
yeah,
equipment, broad daylight, and that he's done this
yeah,
before, and that happens a lot in the Permian. And like
mm,
you said, it's every industry, but we really got to look at like what are our problems in the West Texas oil field?
yeah,
And getting your equipment stolen is always a problem.
yeah, I would,
Trucks with GPS, and then like you said, the LinkedIn community, like we're serious about out here about sharing that
yeah, for sure,
stuff,
yeah,
and it's you will see it driving down the road. It's incredible, but you do have to take those extra steps now to let's fix the problem.
yeah,
And if these you're really gonna stay on this guy, you're sending him the invoice, like you obviously confronted him to get your equipment back. Now you've invoiced
yeah,
him. Now you're gonna take him to court, he may decide to retire from his
from
theft,
this thievery, yeah,
his, thievery career,
yeah,
I mean, like, it's absolutely a possibility that if we continue to have those honest conversations, calling people out, making sure that you're
yeah,
doing as much as you can to right the wrong,
right,
not just, "Okay, you got your" it's kind of like you said, like, with, cutting off the people that don't pay
yeah,
their
right,
bills.
right,
It's like, "Alright, you got your equipment back, but he still stole from you."
yeah,
He still caused you loss,
right, right,
and it's a problem. It's a social problem that we have out here,
mhm.
and so, like, you're really taking the lead on trying to end that as much as you
Yeah,
can.
as much as you can, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I
It's hard
bet.
because I have yeah, it's a hard thing, and I try to, I even thought man, we even thought, because you know, talking to my banker and the banks I deal with, it's like, uh, I thought about getting a a license, what do they call those now? Where you can go and repo.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. I think
yeah,
you
get
mentioned that
mhm.
before, having a little, like, repo in
Yeah, so we
in your
started yeah,
business.
so we got yeah, from a bank, the banker said, "Hey, well, what about you going and just repoing them since, you know, like, you're not very scared of the confrontation
No,
that
you're
might happen,"
not.
you know,
You're
it's like, you know,
you just go in, like,
it's
I mean, you're
yeah,
very serious, but, like, I
yeah,
could see, like, even, like, that first one that you confronted in his yard, like,
mhm,
you like, the personal assault,
yeah, yeah,
it's like principle.
yeah,
You're not
principal,
going your boundary. You're
yeah,
not gonna tolerate this.
yeah,
That would definitely be a great addition to your
yeah,
services if you
yeah,
did.
right,
I
and
mean,
so
there's a lot of people out here that suffer from that, but then you don't have the time to go track it
mhm,
down. You don't wanna go through the headache of, you know, having all of these charges in court and because it's the amount of protection these people have from stealing
yeah,
is
it
incredible,
is, yeah, it is kind of wild, uh, very wild.
and that there's so little
Where
that
do I
you
go?
can do.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much I can do, and, man, I got lost in my train of thought right there. My autism's kicking in right now, you know? The 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 thieving, man, I had a really good one in my head about that.
Would you say that the thieving culture is rampant
No,
and
no, but I talked to even the EMPs, they get oil stolen, and
okay, yeah, I've heard that.
yeah, I mean, it happens. I don't
Fuel gets
yeah, I feel like
stolen.
it's stolen, huh? Yeah, I mean,
And I mean, like, I guess in just an industrial area too, it's easy. And it's also easy if there's someone that works there and they've got somebody, because that there was a company that I worked at and I never knew who it was, but fuel was already always getting stolen.
mhm,
And I mean, it was a mismanaged company anyway. So some of the ideas that they had to
mhm.
catch them, wasn't working, putting a camera out there to scare them away, but not investing in a camera that I was actually working to
Yeah,
see who it
yeah,
is. Like, things like that. There
yeah,
was a lot of action
yeah,
taken, but it was, futile
yeah,
at
feudal.
times.
Yeah,
But, I kept thinking to myself, and I never said that, but I'm like, there has to be someone that's working here that's helping generate. I don't remember the circumstances because
yeah,
there was a lock on the fuel tank. There was a lot, but it was always that tank was getting drained.
yeah,
So it's very easy for more theft to happen when you have somebody
mm.
that's also employed there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the man, I have this there was a we were buying bulk fuel, and, there was we were emailing back and forth, and, we were getting the ACH information to pay them. We paid them, and then 2 months later or something, 3 months later, they come back and they say, "Hey, you haven't paid your bill, your fuel bill," and we're like, "No, look, we paid our fuel bill, well, I promise you," and, we go back and look through the emails, and in the same email chain, right, that we were first talking to them in, and then someone had, inserted, another email with instead of .com, it was .co, okay, from their company, and gave us the wrong drafting information to another bank account.
Okay.
These people didn't weren't were not employed there anymore. They had inside the company, they had made a different email chain or different email address with the same, like, company.co,
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
company.co email address,
Yep.
and, uh, inserted that into the so we didn't catch the .co
Right, because that's
it by
so
the way, it's
minor.
so minor and it was
Yeah.
in the same email chain.
Mhm.
It wasn't a new email,
Right.
you know?
That was slick.
And so, yeah, that was like even in the inside people, that's
No,
crazy.
I've heard that about invoicing, or
Mhm,
like things like that. I've
mhm.
never experienced that myself because I've just never been in a situation like that, and I've never worked in the office where I would be able to even be privy to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But I think that I've heard that where you will get double invoiced
yeah,
or a claim that you never paid your invoice, but you're paying this like fake account basically.
yeah, yeah.
And then you'll end up getting double charged or
Mhm.
just like I don't know, like they're skimming off the top of the company.
Yeah, that's what it sound yeah, yeah,
That's really what it is because like the company may not know. That could be just an employee.
mhm.
The things that the lengths that people will go to be dishonest will never stop surprising
Yeah,
me,
right.
like things
Yeah.
like that. But I think it's always important to, and that's part of what I do love about the Permian is there's so many people out here that have suffered because of
Yeah,
these
right,
things
yeah.
that would never do that kind of
Yeah,
business.
mhm,
And when we all do business together, that's not going to happen.
mm-mm.
And we're going to cut
Yeah,
down on that. And you
yeah,
are going to have stronger
yeah,
alliances and we are going to do better business. But we can't cater to those people. We
right.
can't just continue letting it skate by or
Yeah,
say it's okay or this is just the way it is
mhm.
because there's no reason for that.
No,
And
no.
and we can do better than that. And so, but as a business owner, you've experienced all of this,
But yeah, yeah,
but you're still like you're very very positive, you're
yeah,
happy with what you're doing,
mhm.
you still love owning a business, but those are part of the growing
Yeah,
pains
yeah,
and you just learn how to grow through them and then
yeah.
make opportunities out
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, no, I sound like I'm being pessimistic right now, telling all the negative stories, but there's like
No, but
I
that's part
love,
of it.
that's the thing, I'm living my dream.
Mhm.
I wake up every day, I have, a family and a career that I love, and I get to go to this thing and try to build this thing up, and I guess the negative parts of it is what is the cool stories, because
Well,
it's
they're
like
interesting.
90, yeah, it's interesting, right? But like 95% of my day to day is very positive and a building this cool culture with the people that I work with, and, it's a lot it's, like, so much fun,
Mhm.
and, it's, brings a lot of joy. It's
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I mean, I can see that, and I think
yeah.
that, one thing, one of your positive stories that
Mhm.
we can talk about is, that I saw recently that you posted was your dedication to learning
Yeah,
Spanish.
Spanish, yeah,
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 that was really cool,
yeah.
and so how's that going for you?
Good, I go twice a week, to a personal private guy, and then I do some Duolingo, like the app,
Uh-huh.
to freshen up, and I don't know, I think by the end of the hopefully, I'm thinking, like, by the end of the year, I can already form sentences, and I can actually now that you start learning the terms of, like, industrial, like, the things we do on a
Mhm.
day to day, you start
Yeah.
learning those, and, I can mostly get my point across to what needs to happen, and then they can communicate with me too. But we're actually in this point to where they're learning English and I'm learning Spanish that we actually like will mix a lot.
Oh,
And
I
like,
bet,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? It's like we're like talking to each other in a mixture of
Mhm.
Spanish and English, and we're making our own kind of language right now until we both can figure out,
Yeah.
like we
Yeah.
can both be fluent in each one of them.
Mhm.
But this thing is like I mean, the whole immigration thing, I'm not into politics, but they're here and they needed to work and they're citizens. And so
Mhm.
these guys, they come in and a lot of them from Cuba, they get their citizenship and they're here and they don't know English and that they want a job and they're humans and they're very nice. And there's not all of them are good, but
Right.
you get through them. And so now there's a group of really group of really good guys
That's
that I enjoy
awesome.
working with. And we're growing together, and
Well, and I think because stereotypes can be made, and there's a reason that we have
yeah,
stereotypes,
yeah,
because I mean, like there are there are people that are taking advantage that don't get their citizenship, that aren't here for the right reasons.
right, right,
But when you find the ones that want to come here, take care of their families, learn
mhm,
and do good work,
mhm,
you've got to break down those walls.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely,
it's really refreshing when you do,
yeah,
because a lot of that fear-based um, message that we get from the mass media,
mhm,
it keeps everybody
so
separated.
yeah, separate, yeah,
Like we're all segregated and you're bad and they're bad and then nobody can come together. But when you take it upon yourself to actually learn
mhm,
these individuals and decide for yourself if they're right for you, right for your business, how you can help each other
yeah.
and get that dedication, then a lot of those stereotypes get overblown.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm always looking for the win-win there. Like,
Hmm.
the win-win in business and these people. Like, how can we both win? Not just me win because you work for me. But how can you win? How can I help you? And so I would do the English and then, it's funny, like the Cuba people, the people that are from Cuba, they're still like in World War II era mechanics. Like, they know nothing
Wow.
about like, they come here, they're, like, they're showing me their cars, and they're, like, 60s model Russian cars and that are, like, they just keep, restoring over and over, but it's really old technology that, is not efficient in today's world, and so, I started to put together a process, which I think, like, people like Caterpillar, they're mega billionaire.
Hmm.
They have all these super big training programs for their
Right.
employees, but even on a super small scale, I have, access to, like, these engine manufacturers' videos, and I started, compiling into these processes that they every day, a few times a week, actually, a few hours a week that I do training with them, and then they watch these videos and how does this work? This is all the new technology, and now you get to like not only give them English, then I'm giving them the new, how to fix new
Yeah.
machinery,
That's
and
awesome.
so by the way, that helps me, right? Because
Mhm.
I repair machinery, and
Right.
so and then you get them to grow, and then also it's learning English and me learning Spanish and them learning the correct way to mechanic. By the way, a lot of them don't have the correct way in their mind, and learning them how to it's a lifelong lesson that forever. And then now, even if they leave and go work for someone else, they'll have a trade that they can use for the rest of their life. So that's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah,
really
that's so
yeah
awesome. I get that, and I can see
yeah
you doing all of that,
yeah
but really strengthening that trade,
yeah
showing them how to do it correctly,
yeah
whether they stay with you or
yeah
not, but while they're with you, like, you can you can really help them grow
Mhm.
as employees and as individuals, take care of
Mhm.
their families and have that trade going out into the world, but as long as they're with you, they're doing all this great work at your company.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's again, like you said, it's that win-win and just constantly feeding. And when you have people that are putting in that same effort that you are, then that's what really motivates you
yeah,
to want to
right. If
keep
yeah.
giving
Mhm.
and keep finding new ways and that appreciation. And when you see it actually in
Action.
action,
Mhm.
it that makes all the difference too,
For
I'm
sure.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I wanna say something about mechanics because my generation kind of, their mechanics are in dire need right now. There's not enough of them, and, because the mass media didn't make mechanicking popular anymore, and it's
Right.
something not to look forward to in a career, and I think that wasn't a I love it,
Mhm.
and I get very introverted sometimes at work too, because I still will go out there and, I'm the guy who you when people can't figure out the problem, I they, "Hey, Stefan, can you come?" And I'll go out there, you're like, Leave me alone," you know? Give me, like, 2 hours, get my multimeter out, get my fine tools, and I'm gonna give me my schematics, and I go out there and figure it out, and it's like my time of, like, that's like my therapy,
Yeah,
That's
I
like
could
my
see
little
that.
therapy, it's like my own little therapy but it's so fulfilling, like, I don't know, I didn't, I wish that more people would, like, I wish more people would think of it as a really cool thing to do rather
Right.
than we've made it to where like, oh, mechanic's this old guy with a beard that
Yeah.
rides a motorcycle or something. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that stereotype that we talked
Yeah.
about. You're talking about stereotypes, that stereotype about
Yeah.
mechanic.
No, and I think that blue collar trades are largely overlooked.
Yeah.
It's, not something that you wanna do, and, I mean, you've gotta it's a double-edged sword
Yeah.
because, as an when I was an equipment operator in the field, okay, yeah, I knew I didn't wanna be on location 7 days a week, 12 hours a day
Yeah.
on this machine. There were other things I wanted to do, but that can also be beneficial for some where you work in a hitch and you go and spend a week or 2 with your family. Financially, it's great, and you're a lifelong career or,
Right.
equipment operator.
Yeah.
And, so I think it depends on the person, but also with these trades, like you may stay within that trade, but then you can also become a business owner.
Hmm.
You can do other
Hmm.
things with it. And so the trade itself can be a building block to something bigger if you want
Yeah.
more.
Oh
If
yeah.
you
Absolutely.
if you
Mhm.
want to have your own employees, if you
Mhm.
want to have your own business, if you want to do other things, if you want to be a traveling mechanic,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you really have a desire to travel the country,
Hmm.
and you can learn a trade like that, whether it's, as an electrician, as a mechanic, as a welder, as an operator, all of these things, but you also have to cultivate the other skills to
Yeah.
maintain that. You
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
have the network. You've
Yeah.
gotta,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
the
it. Yeah.
hustle, like,
Hmm.
so no matter what you
Hmm.
do, you've gotta have the knowledge and the skills.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so, but understanding that the trades take time, but the great thing, especially about the Permian, is there's so many people here willing to teach and kinda create, like you
Yes.
said, like you're creating like your own type of
Which is for sure.
program
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to teach your employees. But if the younger generation understood that, and like you said, if it
Yeah.
wasn't something that mass media is pushing, you gotta go to
Yeah.
college,
Yeah. There you go.
it's like, what for? And like there are certain, again, like as a nurse, you've gotta go to college if you wanna be a
Yeah.
nurse, you've gotta go
Yeah.
to nursing school, but there are so many people going to college just because they don't know what else to
To do,
do.
right.
And you just end up with debt or wasted time or taking a job that's not even necessarily suited for you.
Mhm.
When you could start out of high school with a trade, and like you said, your dad was
Mhm.
master mechanic, and so you learned how to mechanic at an early age. You already had a knack for
Yeah,
that.
right, right.
And so if you start out of high school or in high school learning those trades, you can graduate from high school. You don't have to take out student loans, you don't have to start your life in debt, and you can build a trade that you can count on
Mhm.
and then continue to evolve from there. But I really think, especially looking back on in hindsight in my life, you don't think about it like that at
You're
the
right.
time.
Yeah,
And so we don't have that education and that open dialogue, like, look how great this can be.
yeah,
And this is how interesting and fun and fulfilling
yeah.
being a mechanic can be. And
You're right.
that is, like you said, there's always a dire need for mechanics. Not enough people are talking about uh, what like the skill, the
Mhm.
trade
Yes, yeah.
of
Yeah, so
mechanics.
one thing I always the difference between, like, my wife being a, a nurse practitioner or a doctor and a mechanic is just the liability part about it. You're
Right.
still you're still
Yeah,
operating, and, like,
right.
you're trying to figure, like, are humans, we have a problem, and we're
Uh-huh.
trying to fix it.
Yeah,
It's just the liability, I guess, human lives are way more important than a piece of machinery, and I there's
right, of
definitely get that.
course.
I definitely get it. What I'm saying is it's still the same, like, you can be as good of a doctor as you want, you can be as good of a mechanic and do surgery on these machines, and so
Mhm.
and secondly is that the pay, as you see, is like this has happened. I read an article from Caterpillar. They're like 40,000 mechanics short. And so what's happening is guess what? The supply and demand is now mechanics are getting paid more. I mean, you got to pay them. A good
Yeah,
mechanic gets paid a lot of money.
right.
And that's going to continue to be so if there's not people that come to
Mhm.
them. Yeah.
Well, and, like, one of the hardest people to trust is a mechanic.
Mhm. Yeah.
When you
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Right.
when you take your
Yeah.
car somewhere and, like, you don't
Yeah.
know them,
You
you
don't.
don't know if they're
Yeah.
really fixing it or not.
Yeah, or not.
And so if you go
Yeah.
to a skilled mechanic and someone you know knows
Mhm.
what they're doing, like, you can rest easy.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic too, because there's the bad, but, every industry has the bad apples in there, and the yeah, so that's tough.
It is, but I think that, again, just shining a light on it with your business, with
Yeah.
your growth, with your experience and your dedication that, I mean, very much a leader in this part of the industry. So it's refreshing to hear about it
Yeah.
and to know what you're doing. I love that you're here in the Permian and
Yeah.
you can help so many people with equipment rental, with repair, and just really wanting to do good business and talk about sales and
Mhm.
the trial and error and the building blocks of being a business owner.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Well,
so
and I appreciate you coming on today,
hey,
and
thanks for having me.
I really do, and really enjoyed talking to you and hearing all about it.
You too. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Uh-huh.